Hello, beautiful people. I'm Chris Maddox. I'm the founder of the Wild Woman Project and Wild Woman Fest. And I'm speaking to you today because I always speak to you at new moon time, and the new moon is upon us. So the new moon arrives September 20th, 2017, and it ushers in a moon cycle which will last us all the way through October 18th. After which point we will begin again. So that period of time is a kind of chapter in our lives. And it's a chapter, when we begin to tune into the moon cycles and just sort of keep track of them by noticing where the moon is on a given time. And then, making a ritual out of acknowledging the new moon. Something really mysterious begins to happen because we are aligning ourselves with a movement of time which is cyclical in nature. It's cyclical in nature, which is, in so many ways mirrors the process of life on earth, which is constantly in a birth, death, rebirth cycle. So that's really cool, versus thinking of time as something that's linear. Another aspect that makes it sort of mysterious and interesting is that we're understanding time by the movement of something in nature versus something that is human made. So in both cases, they are encouraging, this movement is really sort of pointing to an alignment with the true way of nature over something that is human made. So it's just sort of an interesting thing to contemplate. Now, every new moon, we make this really big deal out of it because it initiates this new cycle that we're in. This new moon in Virgo on September 20th is a really special new moon at the Wild Woman Project because not only are we starting a new theme, a new focus for the moon cycle, but we're actually starting an entirely new series. So those of you who have been around a while know our last series was the Mystic Moon series, which culminated at Wild Woman Fest 17 last August. This one, this new series, we're going to moon by moon by moon by moon explore it, and it will culminate in August 2018 at the Wild Woman Fest. So our theme for that whole time, that whole journey, is in the flesh. In the flesh. So our focus, our orientation is a really clear sort of entering in, embodying, exploring the ways in which we live or do not live inside of our own bodies, inside of our own skin, inside of our own flesh. So, there's a tendency for women especially to think more often, how do I look versus how do I feel? How do I look? How am I coming off? How is somebody else perceiving me? Versus how do I feel on the insides? What currents are running through me emotionally, energetically? What am I physically, on a physical level, sensations? What am I experiencing moment to moment to moment? As women, there is a huge part of us which is constantly, if we're able to really drop into our bodies, we realize so much is moving, so much is going on there. And unfortunately, in our culture, the emotional intelligence and the ebb and the flow of emotions has been sort of like judged, you're crazy, you're unstable. Because as women, we're constantly going through a lot on so many levels in our physical body. And we've been so taught to view this as some form of a curse. But I don't think it's that. And I'm not the only one who thinks that, okay? think actually, if we can stop expending so much of our concentration and our vitality and our creativity focused on how we look on the outside, if we can take all that energy back in and we can go, how do I feel? What is going on moment to moment? What intelligence is coming through my physical body right now? Then we're going to start to wake up a kind of superpower that is overall laying dormant. Because unfortunately, for so many reasons, we are living outside of our own bodies. So, why this exploration? Why are we going to focus on this for a year? Why are we going to do the whole Wild Woman Fest 18 on this subject, on our relationship to our own body, on practices, understanding that really lands us right in our own physical body, the house that we live in? Why are we doing that? I didn't make this choice, lightly. I dug as deep as I could for it. I'll just say that. And I was really inspired by a lot of the prophecy that is lying around, everyone from, the Dalai Lama to the 13 indigenous grandmothers to Sufi mystics, and people from so many different traditions, these wise ones, basically all coming around saying some version of, it's going to be the women who save us. It's going to be the women who help us undo the damage that has already occurred and to create something more harmonious, something more life-giving for our future generations. So how? That's my big question. Okay, I'm into that idea. That sounds right to me, largely because a lot of the problems that we're seeing, for example, the ecological crisis or the warfare that's happening, this stuff is a result of having a society where 50% of the population has not been heard from, was not involved in the building of the infrastructure of the society. So yeah, it makes sense that things are crazy out of balance. And then it would make sense that it would be the rising of women's voices and perspectives that would begin to balance out the scales and do natural healing. It seems like common sense to me that this is true, right? But how? Like, how are we going to do it, right? That's, in a sense, a little like it's an exciting challenge, but it's also like if you're a woman in this life, I mean, the big question then becomes like, well, how am I going to do that? And I think it's important for us to always remember that we're not doing it alone. That actually it's happening in the lives of women everywhere. And it's happening together, and it's not going to be one person that does it. It's going to be a rising from us all. So how? The first most primary thing seems like an understanding that there's something in our makeup, in our bodies, that is holding like the key for us, key for our understanding. So it's actually really dangerous for us to cultivate a worldview wherein we're constantly showing up, thinking about how we look. And there's a lot of pitfalls in modern society, from selfies and social media and the way that we're showing our lives, not to say that storytelling can be so beautiful. So I'm not making a judgment of these things, but I think we need to consciously, really, really consciously watch ourselves and how we're interacting and making sure that we're showing up in our wholeness. But that's just to say there's so many ways that we're being distracted from the cause of living in our own skin, right? So we have seen something really sort of organic happening, the rise of yoga practice, the physical asana practice, the practice of postures. In the West, seeing this huge boom, right? Like yoga studios suddenly on every corner. What's going on? Well, I think that there's something happening. Like we intuitively know that part of how we're going to do this, how we're going to rise to meet the challenges of the day, which there are many, is to get into our own skin first, to really feel our feet on the floor, to feel our breath moving through our body. And then we can start to feel the more subtle currents of intuition and inner guidance and instinct and impulse. But if we're completely living in our own heads, or we're constantly perceiving ourselves from the outside, we don't have access to any of that. So, we are committing here at the Wild Woman Project, and I am merely like a representative of our project, which is a global project. There are Wild Woman Circle leaders in countries all over the world, and we're all showing up for this. And we're going to be showing up for this in our own personal lives and in our communities. So each cycle ahead, starting with this cycle, we will focus on an area of our bodies. And we will use meditation and physical practices and ritual and intention setting and contemplation to really, 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 really begin to feel and experience ourselves from the inside out, with hopes that that will lay the foundation for us to do the big work that we're here to do. The world will be saved by the Western woman, the Dalai Lama. We have big work to do. And it must start for us being really, truly in our bodies, which will allow us to have access to all of our wisdom, especially that oft-judged emotional wisdom, that emotional intelligence, that our emotions and our feelings, which are plentiful, are actually not inconveniences or a drag or a curse, but in fact some form of intelligence that's trying to move through our being. So this moon cycle, for this new moon in Virgo, we are really looking today, right now, in our circles, in the new moon retreat, we are looking at our relationship to being in our own bodies. And we are not only looking at our own bodies for our own body's sake, we're also sort of asking this question, which is, how does my own body act like a mirror to the body of the earth? What do they have in common, the earth and my whole body? The whole earth and my whole body, what do they have in common? Because as we begin to live inside of our flesh, inside of our skin, inside of our bodies fully, we land more deeply into the physical reality that we're in, to the world that we're living in, and all of the beauty and glory of the natural world, and all of the ways in which that natural world is communicating with us constantly, but especially now in really pretty dramatic ways. So we're listening. As we begin to understand our own bodies, there is an inseparable way in which we then begin to experience the world, the natural world. And there's a link there. So if this seems really interesting to you, we will be looking at the whole body this new moon, the whole body, our relationship to our body. And the work that we do this cycle will be like our foundational work for the rest of the year. And then in future moons, we'll look at specific areas of the body. But now for this one, we'll look at the whole body. So you have a couple of ways where you can more deeply explore this. Number one, you can find a circle near you. So look at the link below this video, and there's a list of public circles that are happening all over the world. If you are unable to find a circle near you, I have created your new moon retreat. And this is a video where I will go much deeper into leading you into inquiry around these ideas. Also, a meditation, along with some really potent intention setting. So it's about an hour's time that you want to put aside for that, but you can download it right now and watch it at any point. I recommend watching it as close to the new moon as possible. So you have those two major options. And I just want to say, if you don't have a circle near you and you're feeling called to create sacred space for women and to perhaps lead your own women's circle, our fall training is coming up. Registration has just opened and is filling up with really amazing group of women, and it's women from all over the world, and it's a 7-week process at the end of which you will be fully prepared to begin leading your own Wild Woman Project circle in your community. So check that out. Also, links below this video. So I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for showing up. And I want to encourage you in whatever way today to carve out time for yourself, your new moon time, to really consider, how much am I living in my own skin? Without judgment, how much am I living in my own skin? And can you commit to amping that up and to really embodying this vessel that you're living in? Your body is your house for the whole time that you're alive. And it facilitates every single thing that you ever experience. You experience because you have a physical body. So I hope that today that you'll spend a little time in contemplation around that, maybe creating some intentions. So thank you for watching. And I'll let you know that throughout the moon cycle, we'll be offering resources and all sorts of goodies in our Wild Woman Weekly-ish, which is our weekly-ish newsletter throughout the cycle. So if you're not on the list already, you want to sign up for that at thewildwomanproject.com. Much love.